This is Heather, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. Today's Women of the VUE event. Amy is typically always your host, but today she is driving. So she has asked me to take over some of the hosting duties. So I'm happy to do that for her. I'm Heather Warmbrode. For those that don't know me, I'm the incoming president for the chamber. And as I mentioned, Amy is traveling, so she's usually your host, but I'm happy to help her out. I'd like to give a few minutes to recognize some of our investors in our chamber here in Bellevue. We are grateful for their contribution to our organization, and without their loyal support, events like today would not be possible. Our community leaders are Nashville Christian School and NHC Place at the Trace. Community champions are Seven Springs Orthopedics, Regions Bank, and Parkside Builders. And our community advocates are Temple Hills Country Club, Westgate Commercial, Clarendale Bellevue Place, and Y-Smart Digital. So thank you all for supporting the chamber. Our presenting sponsor for today's Women of the VUE is Vanderbilt Health. And we have Katie Peterson here to tell us a little bit about what they're doing. So I'll let Katie take the screen and talk to us now.
Yeah, you're fine. And you don't have to turn it over. I'll just talk. We don't have to share the screen. If
I want to share the video.
I can if you want to.
I've got you as a cover.
Okay, I'll try it right now.
Let's see. Where'd you go? There you are.
It's saying.
Is it letting you now? Should be co-host now, Kate.
Okay, now it popped up that I'm a co-host. Okay. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see. Can you see my screen? It should just be black for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm just going to show a quick commercial. You've probably seen them on TV, but I think it's always a good reminder. And then I do have an exciting new clinic we're opening in Bellevue that I'll talk about in a second.
Every day we go to work with a simple purpose at Vanderbilt Health: to wipe away fear, to clear minds of lingering doubt, and to care for Middle Tennessee. To help you move forward with life with the screenings, treatments, and procedures that support your health. Because we know there are far more health challenges that confront us than one virus. Staying safe is essential. So is your health. Learn more about both at vanderbilthealth.com.
All right. Hopefully y'all could see that. And I'll stop sharing. Yeah, so we're excited. We are opening a new women's clinic in Bellevue. So if you are in need of a clinic in your area, it's going to open. It actually is already open. They are seeing patients, but it's our Vanderbilt Center for Women's Health, Bellevue, which is going to be at 7640 Highway 70 South, Suite 100. I believe it's right behind the Wendy's and like the Chili's over there. But they are a comprehensive obstetric and gynecological care. So you can do anything from your well women's checkups, pap smears, preventative screenings, and pregnancy care there as well. So of course, just a reminder, we do have all safety measures in place. We are doing telehealth visits if that's something that makes you feel more comfortable for right now. So you'll have some options, but just know that they're in the area, a little closer to home, so you don't have to drive downtown.
That's wonderful. Wow.
Yeah, good to know. Thank you, Katie, for sharing. Okay, Karen, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Katie. I want to recognize our partner sponsor, Tutor Doctor. And Sal, do you want to say a few words?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. If you or your family or any family that you may know is in need of tutoring services, we do tutor all grades, all levels, all subjects. We also do test prep, IC, ACT, SAT. We do organizational study skills, and we do work with children with special needs and students with special needs.
All right, thank you. And then next, I want to recognize our community leader sponsor, Connie Jo Shelton.
Good afternoon, guys. It's so good to see you. Obviously, I think you guys know how committed we are to the chamber and to the community of Bellevue. I was just meeting with our student government officials. They have a pretty cool service project that they would like for us to connect with Gower Elementary. So really working hard to challenge our kids to love on this community, and what a great community it is. I will tell you guys that we are in school. So I don't know if that's a little interesting for you. We've been in school since August the 10th. It looks really different. Our kids eat in their classrooms. Our teachers move. Like in middle school, the teachers rotate through classrooms. Everybody's socially distanced. It's had its challenges, but it's been a great year so far. We've had really successful athletics and just to see our kids be able to participate. We had Frozen Junior with kindergarten through 8th graders at the beginning of the school year, very carefully orchestrated, but to get to hear those sweet, precious voices in those moments just remind us all of what we're doing. And then to see our kids be so successful, our high school girls soccer team district champs. Heather's a little proud of that, I know. So she's had a district champ child, and now her son is currently on our football team. We're still playing football. Who would have thought? We have a football game this weekend, the semifinals of the state against Davidson Academy. Our middle school girls soccer team's been successful, high school volleyball. And so I think just a little bit for you guys knowing within our community, on March 12th last year, none of us knew what was ahead for all of us. And so we never closed our preschool. So our preschool has been open the entire time through the pandemic. Now we kind of shriveled down from 200 babies to about 30, but it was very important to us to stay open for essential workers and to provide that service for our family so they could in turn provide the service to our community. So just a blessing. Our campus is from 6 weeks old to 12th grade. We have a total of 820 kids on campus this school year, from an infant all the way to a senior. Our seniors are a little disappointed in moments because their senior year doesn't look the way they were hoping it would look, but we're trying so extremely hard to make the moment special. I know you guys know about decision fatigue, and it's real. We know that you've all flipped your businesses and been really creative. There's some great things that have come from COVID that we'll do differently. One of our least favorite events for parents was registration, and it was painful, and it was my fault. I'm going to own it. So I've been on this campus for 20 years and I thought it was great. And then we did a drive-through registration. Our parents absolutely loved that. It was so convenient with curbside service. So I think we all know that COVID will bring opportunities for us to keep some of the things that we do, as opposed to some of the things that I know we'll anxiously let go. But the health and safety of our campus and our students has been of utmost importance. We hired a second nurse. We done lots of things to provide the opportunity for our kids to be on campus. And I just want you guys to know, I'm just so thankful that we've been able to do that. We're small enough that we can make the changes necessary to be able to allow our kids to be successful. But going into December and January, I'm not sure how that looks, but we'll keep plugging along and working hard and continuing to be a light in the Bellevue community. And just thank you guys so much for this partnership. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you, Connie Jo. Now I want to recognize our speaker. Before I do, though, I also want to thank our friends at Reed Public Relations. They're the ones that introduced us to Emily, and so we appreciate that. Emily is Yelp's Chicago-based Senior Field Marketing Manager and Small Business Expert. She's responsible for building a thriving network of local business owners, operators, and marketers through education and networking events, now which are obviously virtual. She hosts events and webinars to provide business owners with resources that help them succeed and grow in the world of online reviews. Her expertise lies in customer engagement, reputation management, and all things digital marketing. Her knowledge encompasses countless industries, and through thought leadership and speaking engagements, she's able to share insights that business owners of all kinds can leverage for the future of their business. So Emily, welcome, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you so much, Karen. And I'm so excited to be joined today by Libby as well. And I can just tell from the first few minutes we've been on the call here that you all know Libby. So Libby knows everyone, I can already tell. And I'm really excited for her to be here today because even just when her and I were chatting in advance of this and kind of talking about what we're hoping to share with you guys today, she had so much to say and she's had so much experience on the front lines here, just dealing with her clients and having to figure out solutions during this year. So I always like to pause at the start of my 2020 presentations and just kind of acknowledge the hard work that everyone is doing personally and professionally just to get through the day this year, and to take the time to do something like this today and learn a little bit, connect with other people, even if it's just virtually. I think that's a really awesome thing that you're doing for yourself. So you should feel good about that. And Connie Jo, I really loved your update. Even though I'm not in Nashville, I've been working with a lot of businesses in the area for a while, and it's just incredible to hear all the different things people are doing. And so I'm excited to highlight some of that today. Here's my email. I always say, please reach out to me with any questions. If you've ever had a question about Yelp, we're going to leave time to answer it today, I'm hoping. But also, if you just want to talk to me one-to-one, you can reach me there. I've been speaking on behalf of the company since 2014. So I get random emails from business owners that I've met all over the place, all over the years. So don't feel like any question is too small or too big. If I can't answer it, I'll certainly find someone at the company who can. And Libby, so excited to have her with us. Libby, I'll hand it over to you for a minute if you just want to give a little overview of yourself and your business. But again, like I said, I'm sure all of you know Libby, and I'm just really grateful for her time today. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited for the opportunity to talk to all of you guys. So I've been in real estate since 2005. I moved to Nashville in 2007, and I picked a banner time to start a real estate career because shortly thereafter, our market crashed. So that was super fun. But here I am, still in the end of all of it. I learned a lot in that time, of course, and I'm always continuing to learn. I deal in residential real estate only. I have friends and partners that do commercial, but I'm a residential real estate gal. I love working with families. I love first-time home buyers and everything in between. I work primarily in the Nashville area and surrounding areas. I go as far north as Hendersonville, go as far south as Spring Hill, Columbia. So anywhere in between, I love to service those areas, and any real estate questions you have or needs from an investment standpoint, or just a home valuation, anything. And I live in Bellevue and work in Bellevue so much, of course. I'm very invested in our community. So Bellevue is one of my favorite areas, of course, to work as well. So that's a quick overview.
Awesome. And we'll dive deeper on a few topics as well. I also just wanted to highlight two other businesses. I'm not going to go into a ton of examples because it's much better to get it straight from our live source, Libby, but I will show a few things just to kind of show other industries as well. And these are both Nashville businesses who I've worked with these past few months as we've been doing Project Nashville. So this is Leslie, and she's the owner of Blowout Co. They are a blow dry bar, which for anyone who doesn't know is a concept where women can just go get their hair done for an event. Instead of needing a cut or a color, you just kind of go and pamper yourself. And Leslie was a teacher, actually. She went to a blow dry bar in LA once for an event and just thought like, wow, if I want to be a business owner, I think I could bring this concept to Nashville. And now she has 3 locations. And the real story that I love here about her and what happened during COVID is they had to close, obviously, back in March when the shutdown happened. They were closed for 72 days. And when they opened, especially with all of the new rules and regulations to keep people safe, they determined that they had to start offering different services if they wanted to make enough money to keep their doors open. So instead of just doing blowouts, they now do a lot of other salon type services like waxing and other things. So she's really had to pivot her business and then do a lot of what we're going to talk about today, which is communicating and using that digital reputation to get new customers and maintain current customers. I also wanted to highlight Mignon of the Cupcake Collection. they've been doing a lot of unique things, essentially just rebranding celebrations, because so much of what they are normally catering to in their industry is not happening anymore, or is happening in a different way. So her big pivot has been creating delivery as well as individualized wrapped items. So for those drive-by celebrations and things of that nature, they've really kind of pivoted to provide something that we're all dealing with, which is a change in how we celebrate. So I thought those are two great examples. We'll see some of their social examples later, and just wanted to kind of spark some of those ideas. Today, as we talk about reputation management, we'll definitely talk about reviews. That's going to be a good chunk of the end of the presentation. But I always, in this COVID era, need to talk about the importance of that clear, concise, and consistent message right now. So I call it the COVID message. And it's really just understanding that consumers are looking for information and wanting to verify if information is accurate above almost all else right now. And so if you can put your hours, your offerings, your safety measures, that key and critical information up front, that's a really helpful and effective way to get in front of consumers. So on Yelp in particular, we have this COVID banner. Normally in a pre-COVID world, we would have these on holidays, kind of like a reminder, just make sure this business is operating normal today. But right now it's modifiable by businesses. And we think that's really important because it gives you as a business owner that front and center area on your page, whether someone's looking at your business on desktop or on mobile, to give the most important information. And for you guys to either claim or update your page, whether you have one already or not, you can go to biz.yelp or business.yelp.com if it's easier. We've also been dropping in the chat. We have a special Nashville page that you can start claiming as well, yelpnashville.com. So that's how you're going to get in there and be able to make this information accessible. It's also where you're going to respond to reviews, like we'll talk about later. So we have an app. It's very good to download. It's free and really valuable because so many of us are on the go right now. And in that app or desktop, no matter what it is, when you log in, you're going to get prompted to give your COVID information. Libby and I were actually talking about this morning, and I was saying, you know, these features that we're communicating about what safety measures people are taking, we created because consumers were searching for this information in our regular search bar. So they were looking for businesses that were offering curbside or real estate agents that were doing virtual. And so getting this information filled out on your page will help your business rise to the top, not only on our site, but in general on the web, because we know this information is verified and accurate compared to business pages that haven't been updated. And then we also have this COVID-related service offerings area. Again, all of these are free features that you can just go in and select to communicate what your current operations are looking like. And on Libby's page, for example, you can see right at the top, she has that COVID-19 banner there that says how real estate is essential service. And I'll be honest, Libby builds a lot of confidence right here in just a few short sentences by letting people know she's available and she has different options. And I think that's really crucial here as we maybe go into a potential partial shutdown again or variations on what we're able to do. Having options is really important because consumer comfort is going to vary, right? Libby, I'll hand it to you just for a moment if you want to say anything about updating these tools on Yelp or just the Yelp free listing in general and how you maybe set that up or how you manage that information, whether it's yourself or your team.
Yeah. So I've always felt Yelp was very important from a business public facing standpoint. I used Yelp a lot in the past. It's kind of the go-to of like, all right, I'm going to get the quick and dirty on a company, you know, because it is so reliable that the reviews are posted, you know, good, bad, ugly, great, you know, you really get a really nice view of what a company's really like. So I appreciate that about Yelp. And I also wanted to have a presence there. And I'd heard other realtors say that they had gotten, you know, business from Yelp. And I talked to some of them and said, well, you know, are you buying leads or like, what are you doing? And the majority of them said, no, they just had organically their clients go on there, write a review. They do let their clients know about, the option of reviewing them there and other places as well. And so we decided, when I say we, I mean my assistant Katie and I, she's been together with me since a year and a half now or so. But I just told her, like, I want to start this initiative to really build up our reviews all the way across the board, but, particularly with Yelp as well. And so we went on there and we cleaned up that Yelp page. We really brought it current. I mean, I had a really old headshot. I didn't have like any really good branding, anything like that. So we brought it current. And this was pre-COVID. So we started really trying to build, an audience on there as well and an engagement. But when COVID came along, Katie's just so good that I hadn't even known she'd done our COVID update until I looked at Yelp one day and I was like, oh, well, this is great, and a virtual consultation and things like that. And so I know the power of Yelp, and I can go into this more later, but we've actually gotten some clients strictly because of Yelp this year. And that's an interesting 2020 kind of thing to talk about once you're ready for me to touch on that, Emily. So
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks so much for giving that context, because I think it's important. Yelp obviously is kind of known as that restaurant review site, right? And in reality, we have not only content and business pages for all categories, but a lot of people searching on our site, whether it's searching for actual information and they haven't gotten any information elsewhere, or like Libby had even mentioned, maybe you're getting a referral or hearing about a business and then you go check and see what their online presence looks like. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Definitely Yelp, but also just your online presence in general and how you have consistency across that. And to that point, spreading that message across all platforms. And I think something really crucial here is when you're going to think about this COVID message for your business and you're going to maybe make these updates, having someone to help you is great. And I always say during 2020, I'm sure there's someone you can find to help you, whether it's an employee that's maybe not working normal hours that they used to, and they can give you a few hours to play around. Maybe you have a kid in high school or college who can help you out. But also, I really would say that trying things out on your own right now, you're seeing a lot of people do that for the first time, and it's the perfect time to jump in is, during COVID. So here are some examples of those other businesses just to show you some brick and mortars and how they're communicating. This is Blowout Co. And they were doing a combination of really full and detailed text about their safety measures, as well as visuals and images. So showing customers with masks gives me that comfort that if I go in for an in-person appointment, I'm going to be safe in that space because they're enforcing masks with other customers. So think about how you can communicate that message by checking the box on Yelp, but then also maybe uploading an image on social media that speaks to that same thing. I wanted to show as well Cupcake Collection here. They really changed and pivoted to this delivery model and this drop-off model, and they needed a way to spread that word. And so they're telling you and reminding you at least once a week, whether it's through an eye-catching visual of a cupcake or whether they're telling you just plain and in your face, nationwide shipping is available. So get creative and think about how you can spread the same message over and over on social. I'll throw it back to Libby now and talk briefly about the website. When I go right to Libby's website, I was so happy to see not only a crisp, clean brand that I can identify across her multiple platforms with that beautiful logo, but then she has this COVID banner right there for me. I'm not going to steal her thunder. I'll let her share why they have that and why it's important. But in my expert opinion, this very crisp, clean look with a few call outs to some key things is a very effective way right now to build trust in moments digitally. And Libby, I'll hand it over to you just to talk a little bit about this layout and kind of what you guys had in mind.
Yeah, so I wish Katie was on here today. She's out of the office because her brother's getting married, but I got to give her credit where credit is due. And so I had a vision, you know, a macro vision for my website. Definitely crisp, definitely clean. It's so wonderful to hear you say those words on your own about it. So that's great. But I'm not a graphic designer, and nor do I have time. And I'm not a website designer, and I don't have time. And we actually use Squarespace, which is such a great platform and so easy to make things that are very custom. So that's wonderful. But Katie is more on a designer on that side of things. And she's worked with our website over time to bring it to the beautiful thing that it is now. So I'm so proud of that. And thank you. And also the COVID update was again her idea. And I have a feeling, I'd have to ask her, but she may have gotten that from Yelp, you know, gotten that idea from Yelp, especially, you know, with some of the wording is similar in that way as well. And so, again, like we've taken this extremely seriously. My family has, my company has, my business has, and we're in a people business. We're in a caring for families business. And we didn't want anyone to think that we were working with us, they also had to take some sort of a risk. We just wanted to take that guesswork out of it. And to have, like you've highlighted, the testimonials front and center, that way it's connecting the same thing of like safety plus the relationship that we've had with past clients and their experiences, and how all of these things are people related, where then of course the socials are up front and center. They're not glaring or in your face or taking over the brand, but they're easy to find, easily accessible, and that will take people to more content about us, whether it's our posts or posts other people have made tagging us, or reviews and things like that, where people have posted on Google and Facebook and Instagram and all of that as well. So just kind of connecting people with caring with the brand all together.
That's awesome. And Libby, you bring up a really good point when you talk about your assistant doing this and this kind of being her thing, and you knowing that it's better to prioritize your time in other ways. I think mentioning Squarespace is huge, because for any of you business owners who just want to get a very basic website up with a few pages, and you're looking to just communicate some key information, you can pay someone to set up a Squarespace for you at a much more affordable rate than if you're paying someone to completely design an entire website. So keep that in mind. Those are definitely options. And I think more and more people are looking at creating a gig economy for themselves and doing these kind of projects when they have that skill set, especially in this digital world we're in. So taking advantage of that as a business owner, and maybe look into that middle of the road investment if you're not able to create this huge build out for a website.
And I'll jump in real quick, Emily, if you don't mind, and just I think it's really important for any business owner to understand their strengths and to hire up. So I mean, I could sit there for hours and create a website. It might look good to me, but it's probably not going to look good to everyone else. And additionally, that's not the highest and best use of my time, like you were saying. So having someone, I personally chose to have someone on staff, but if you decide to outsource that, it's a great option, because you want somebody that's better at it than you are, and you want somebody that has the time to do it. So your reflection back to you is going to be what you're hoping for, as opposed to you taking time away from your business that's a money-making activity and also not doing as good of a job. So
it's a great point. And I'll let you keep going here just to frame up where we're headed with this slide. There's something about Libby's social that is both approachable, local, but also very clean, crisp, and organized. So you can see in the upper left, she's sharing a review there. In the bottom left, and I'll let her share more about the market stats on another page, but she shares this information that people know is coming monthly and helps kind of give her overall profile this sense of rhythm to it. I also get a human element from these images, right? I can see families, and I can see a mix of the types of home she's dealing with just in these 9 panes. And I think when you're learning about Instagram or building out an Instagram, thinking about pains is really important, especially if you're trying to build out on a topic like real estate. And if you're going to be using things like hashtags for your industry to get in front of more people, you want to kind of have a layout that gives a little bit of an overview, because you are driving traffic to your account as opposed to just engaging with your current followers. So that's something to keep in mind. And Libby, I'll let you share maybe just a little bit about how you think about that Instagram content. And then if you differentiate at all with Facebook, and maybe how you think about Facebook as well.
Yeah. So before, when I was doing all my social media myself, I knew I always wanted a mix. I always wanted to highlight and celebrate the clients that have chosen to work for us. There's nothing more exciting to us than when those people get their keys. We don't want that celebration to stop in that moment. We want to shout it from the rooftops. We're so grateful that they worked with us. So that's something that has been consistent in my business from the beginning. Also showcasing properties that represent the types of properties that we want to be working with. We connect a lot of things to our Compass listings as well, and we have a lot of luxury listings within Compass, so it's fun to kind of showcase properties here in Nashville, but we also show stuff kind of across the nation to kind of show the reach and power of the company we work for as well. Of course, we're incredibly grateful when someone leaves a testimonial on any of the sites that we use, and we love bringing this up, highlighting those and bringing them forward. Our clients love it too, because when they see the testimonial they wrote on our Instagram page, like, oh, they're just excited, so that's really great too. It's also very important to me to always have highlighted areas of the city, where we live, and things that just make Nashville unique. We're a city of murals. As you can see, this is one of the newer East Side murals that I'm obsessed with. And so being able to snap shots like that whenever I'm out, and all of those kinds of things are important. And then of course, both Facebook and Instagram give us this great opportunity to bring market information to the clients, which we'll talk about that more later. But what I would say is I kind of just told Katie when she came on, because one of her jobs coming on was to manage the social media, because once again, I got to get out from behind the desk. And I already knew she was good at it because she had a design background, and we'd seen some other things that she'd done before. So I gave her the skeleton and she ran with it. So one of the things we've started doing is using more filters so we can have a more cohesive look along the page. So everything's not in different colors or different exposures or all that kind of stuff. And then as far as some of these designs, Katie designed the graphic for the testimonials, or Katie's worked on the graphics, the backgrounds and stuff for our market stats and things like that. And so she gets mad at me now if I do a walkthrough and I don't get a picture with the clients. So got to work on that. And some of them have masks and some of them don't. So we've been mixing in some mask pictures. Obviously I was standing well more than 6 feet away from that family, both of them, when I took these. But, and then one of the things that Katie's actually done, which I really enjoy, this was fully her idea, and I like her to feel like she can run with the socials. I don't want her to feel like I'm breathing down her neck or micromanaging her. She knows I look at them all the time, so I do say something if I feel like something needs to be changed. But one of the things that she's done is this great little seasonal thing. So if you look at like our Facebook, our logo is put on kind of with a fall harvesty type background. And I saw it one day and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so great. And she's been changing them out with each season. And I just enjoy that. I feel like it brings a more human element to our socials, as opposed to just some, bare bones, just only black and white. And black and white can be very elegant. If that's the look you're going for, stick with it. But we wanted to bring in a little bit more softness and character and things like that. And so Katie's done a wonderful job with that as well, and this kind of look we've been going for.
Awesome. So here you go. I didn't have to give you long to wait.
Nice soft love there.
Let's just dive in. I would love to just have you talk us through the market stats and like why that's a good thing to share, kind of how you think of that as a tool. And then let's just also talk about referrals, because I think it's so great that this one on the side not only shows me the type of home that you might be dealing in, but also really shouts out that referral concept. So just walk us through both of these.
Yeah. So So on the left side, you're seeing their September 2020 market stats. So our market stats always come out a month later, because clearly they have to analyze the information. A lot of these stats come from the Greater Nashville Realtors, or this one's particularly Greater Nashville. There's also Williamson County Realtors Associations and things like that. Our company actually puts together these numbers, and a lot of real estate companies do. What I love about what our company does, though, is it does show us the percentage change over year to year underneath. So you can see on the left-hand side, we had 3,517 sold listings in September of 2020. So actual closings is what that means. And that's up 15% year over year. So that means we did 15% more closings this September, which is insane, being that it's 2020, over September of 2019. So the market, it's showing a strength there. It's showing that we're still going strong even amidst this, and more to come, probably when COVID is less insane. And that's what all the projections are showing as well. Then it shows that we have 3,799 pending listings, which is 19% more pending listings than the year before. So those are all kind of working towards closing at this point. It shows 5,195 active listings. And this is a really big deal, because underneath you'll see it's a negative 37% change year over year. That means we have 37% less listings on the market in September of 2020 than in September of 2019. And there are 37 less homes to be able to buy, which is just showing how tight our inventory is, how much strength sellers have, how a buyer's got to jump on a property. If they love it, they got to get it now. There's just not a lot out there. And I know there's a lot of realtors on this call who I'm great friends with, and I know we can all attest to that shortage of inventory right now. I heard a stat this morning from another realtor panel I was working with, that they said for us to go into being a buyer's market, it would take double the inventory or triple the inventory to even out. Double the inventory to even out, triple the inventory to flip to buyers. So that's how shortage we are on inventory. So the other stats show you we want to connect our clients with what's going on. The other thing shows you the median average, which is an up 9% over the year before, which shows you a cost of waiting. If you wait a year, you may have to pay 9% more next year for the same house. And then of course the average days on the market, to how quickly things go. And then on the right-hand side, when we're talking about referrals here, we're not necessarily meaning reviews so much as referrals across the country. So a client of mine here moved to Iowa and wanted to work with a realtor in Iowa. We've actually had a lot of people work with referrals this year than normal, more than any other year in my career, because I think in COVID, people have really realized where they want to be. And so a lot of them are going ahead and kind of taking that risk. So they went ahead and moved. We found them a great realtor to work with there that was vetted and professional, and we knew would do a good job for them. And so when they closed on that home, since they're partially our client as well, we wanted to congratulate them on our social media. And they bought such a beautiful house, and it was just a great thing to highlight and to show people we can help you even if you're not moving to Nashville.
Awesome. So yeah, I think it's really important to kind of have this overarching conversation of the information you're trying to get in front of your clients, especially right now. And then with your reputation, it's all about this engagement, right? So it's all about, when it comes to getting those reviews, how you're looking at it, whether it's positive feedback, negative feedback, and then also how you're taking that and using it across all of your platforms to reflect your business and reflect those key things that are important to you and what you're trying to achieve with that connection with your customer. So something I always like to break down when we're going to talk about reviews, because so many of my business owners tell me they don't want to engage with online reviews because they're afraid of negativity and people taking to an online platform just to share negative things, is really just kind of showing a scope of how review platforms are laid out. So nearly 80% of the reviews on our site are positive. There are more 5-star reviews than 1, 2, and 3-star reviews combined. So more often than not, business owners are getting feedback that's positive from their customers or clients. And when we are getting those negative reviews, many individuals who are engaging with or looking at their online reputation across many platforms are seeing extreme value in that engagement. I always like to point to this Jay Baer book. I was in hospitality before I came to Yelp. I was a front office manager of a Marriott. And this book really just helped the way that I approached feedback in this online world we're all living in right now. So, 15 years ago, you were only receiving feedback if people called or stopped in and asked to talk to a manager or maybe sent an email. And now you have this information and feedback from all sides. And not all feedback is something that should require a change in your business, but some can be helpful. And a great first approach is just to engage and answer those reviews in every channel every time. And another important thing here, and this goes back to that communication and the importance of setting expectations, a lot of reviews are oftentimes telling you about customer service. So when people are sharing this positive experience, there are these trends of them talking time and time again about the way the experience made them feel, whether it's buying a home and that personal touch that they get from someone like Libby, or if they go to a restaurant right now during COVID and the staff are being really diligent about cleaning and wearing masks. These are the types of things that people are mentioning in their reviews. And by getting ahead of that or communicating what you're doing, you can really set those expectations and in some ways maybe avoid a missed expectation if you're dealing with changes. And I'm thinking predominantly, a lot of my restaurants, for example, if you were not doing high volumes of takeout and now you are, maybe your menu is extremely shrunk, or maybe there are other things about what you're now offering that are completely different than pre-COVID. So setting those expectations in advance will help those positive reviews come as opposed to those negative reviews, which oftentimes happen to normally be just from a missed expectation. So I want to walk through quickly developing a strategy for responding to reviews, and you guys will have access to these slides, so you can always come back to them. The last thing I'll say as well about responding to reviews is if you ever want me to review a response before you post it, shoot me an email. I do that all the time. But the importance here is that whether it's a negative or positive review, responding has so much power and value, and consumers actually sort of expect it. So 53% of consumers say that they would like to see a response to an online review, which means you have an opportunity to, make them happy or in some ways maybe even let them down. I'll start with critical first, even though you will be dealing with it less frequently as the numbers fall, but it is something that probably worries you more. I think about critical in three buckets. The first one is legitimate. There's a lot of things that could go wrong right now. And especially if you're in a business where you have a team or staff, there might be things that happen that need to be addressed. And so taking a public comment and not really using that to dig into the details with that reviewer one-to-one, but more so reflecting your customer service practices and taking that conversation offline is a really, really great tactic. Inaccuracies come up, and I'm thinking specifically in things like facts about certain services or offerings, things of that nature. Sometimes a public comment is good for that. If someone feels like a rant or a rave, and we always have to remember that consumers are smart too, right? When they see reviews, they see them in the midst of other reviews. Sometimes they're not zoning in so much on the critical like we are, and they might see it as an outlier. But you always have that option for direct message. When it comes to positive reviews, there's a little strategy here. When it's a public comment, you have the power to add more keywords to your site or your page that talk about what you do. So if they mention a service or an offering that you have that you want to get more attention for, responding publicly and re-mentioning that is a great way to get more visibility. If you're getting a high volume of reviews and you don't have time to personalize with a sentence or two each time, using direct message is way better than looking repetitive or canned on the front end of your account. I'll toss it to Libby for a moment to talk about when she responds to reviews and just kind of how she takes that approach, or if maybe it's someone on her staff that does it. And then we'll move on to the last slide before questions.
Okay, so I believe this is our Google review sheet here. And So I don't respond to the majority of these, but I did respond to this first one personally. And Katie and I always try to respond quickly. She just watches this stuff, more than I do, so she responds. But it is really important for us to respond genuinely, whether it's me or her responding. And so we always try to take a we approach, because we are a team, and so much of the experience that they've had is with me and with Katie. And so it's a joint effort. And as our team grows, it'll also grow in that same way. So I appreciate her, always including kind of a we aspect there. So I think it's important, number one, to thank them for giving us a review, because they don't have to. It's a minor inconvenience, but at the same time, it's major because so many people don't do it. So we're incredibly grateful, and we make sure to let them know that. Additionally, we just want them to know how much we appreciated them using us at all. So this is such a great public forum, because, you may not get to throw them a housewarming party this go around, or you may not get to go out to lunch with them or dinner with them. This might be the best interaction you can have during this COVID season. So we want to continually, let them know that as well. It's interesting because in our response to the owner on with Jacob Tippett's, you can see that we talked about how their home is stunning, but also just how they moved during this pandemic. Jacob is a chamber member. A lot of you guys probably know him, and he's just wonderful, and working with him was a dream. And so it was great to get to do that. But I know that it was a stressful time during the pandemic. So we had to really work through a lot of different obstacles, and some of the houses we showed, I went in and came out, they went in and came out, and we just work with different things. And so I think it's also great that we were able to show that we were able to do this during a pandemic. There's a review actually down lower, if you guys ever go to any of our stuff to look at it, from Ellie, that it's hilarious, because she talks about because we started her process prior to the pandemic, and it ended right in the beginning of it. So she talks about how good the experience was to the bitter, gloved, masked end of the situation. So it's really kind of funny because it's very pandemic related. But anyway, this has just been we think it's important for us to recognize their review. It's another form of engagement, communication, another experience. I mean, for someone to leave a review and it's just out in the abyss is not nearly as special as oh, they wrote back. That's so great. So it's just more heartwarming and more human connection, essentially.
That's awesome. I think we can turn it over for questions, because I definitely do want to leave enough time for that. I'll go to the last screen here, so my email's up there for anyone who needed it. I think just as a closing here, as I'm getting to the final screen, Libby talked about this in the beginning, but sharing those reviews across multiple platforms is a really great way to thank the reviewer, but also let other people know that you pay attention to and engage with your reviews. Businesses that respond to reviews on Yelp typically have not only a higher star rating, but more quantity of reviews as well. And that's because consumers who see that engagement and see that response feel more compelled to then share their experience oftentimes. So there we go. I wanted to throw that email up there, but we can certainly answer questions for the last 10 minutes here. I think for those of you who are used to this platform, you probably know this, but if you scroll your cursor down to the bottom of your screen, you should see a little window pop up, and then there's a bubble that says chat. Oh, you guys have been using it. I'm sorry, you've been typing to each other. So if you have any questions for us, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We would love to answer them.
Libby, how do you encourage people to respond to the request for the review? Because, our broker sends ours out. I'm not very good at saying, hey, there's a review that's coming, or I've tried at times to, through the process. Oh, well, you can tell them that, and you can mention that in the review. How are you good at getting the...
Yeah, so one of the things, actually, Emily and I talked about this a little bit, because we're not in the business of soliciting reviews. Clearly we don't want to, we're not paying anybody. We're not doing anything like that. We want them to want to do it on their own volition, which clearly is the struggle some of the time. So what we do is we actually just try to make them very aware. We have we send them instructions as a post-closing measure of how to make a review on Google, Facebook, Yelp, any of the ones where we would like something that's visible to others. And Katie put together a great email where it does graphics that say like, click here and then do this, because a lot of the times people just get there and it's not really as user-friendly as they expected and they just give up. So, and we don't just send that email once. We have kind of a drip campaign that we send that email out just to say, or, you know, we might send them an email back thanking them for what they have done. But it is important to note that like we never offer any sort of incentive for that. We just want others to love and experience the same kind of thing that they did. So I think a lot of it is, you know, you can say like, oh, if you had a good time, give a review on Google or give a review on Yelp. You know, like you say that and people are like, oh, I'd love to. And then they completely forget about it because they're moving into a new house and they've got bigger and better things to deal with. And maybe you're an afterthought. So we always send it out with our first post-close measure, but we also then send it out, you know, to a week or two later and then a little bit later, because as they're settling into their home, they eventually get back to their life, they get settled and they remember, oh yeah, I wanted to do that. So we just want to stay still top of mind while they still remember their experience, as opposed to, you know, years later when who knows, you know, if they even, you know, we're trying to create customer retention with our name, which, you know, in real estate is really the struggle. So I hope that answers that question, Cindy, that we just have have put together a system for that.
Thanks.
Sure.
And I think another thing, Cindy, is having the links to all of your platforms is really helpful, because then people will go to the platform they use. So on Libby's website, she has all of her little icons in the top corner. And I think in her email signature too, probably. So that's a nice thing you can do, is especially if you're focusing on maybe, you know, 4 or 5 sites, maybe it's Yelp and Google and one of your real estate specific sites, and you maybe just link to 4 or 5 places, can be very helpful just to point consumers to the platform that they use the most.
So I just received a private question that says, do you respond to any negative reviews and how do you handle that? And it's funny you bring this up because Emily and I were talking about this before. I don't mean to sound weird. I just literally haven't gotten any negative reviews. I haven't, but I will say in my experience with negative reviews, I see a lot of negative reviews I've seen the most experience with negative reviews when it comes to like Airbnb and like vacation rental, like type stuff. And I've really appreciated as a consumer when I've seen a property owner respond to a negative review and express like, you know, not calling the person a liar, but saying like, we are so sorry that you know, whether or not they're lying, they did not have a good experience. And for that, I would be sorry. I would express that. I'd say, I'm so sorry you had a bad experience. I certainly don't want you to have any sort of a bad experience. But please know, like, during this time, we did everything we could to try to, you know, whatever. I would probably speak to the issue and I would reveal the truth in a very professional way. But ultimately the responsibility relies on me. If they didn't have a good job, a good experience, that's on me, you know? So I think it's important to humble yourself. I think it's a good opportunity to humble yourself. And I don't think there's a lot of, I think a humbleness to consumers is a very attractive quality. When someone can admit that they're wrong, but also show what they did to fix it, I think that should show the integrity of the business owner to, you know, to begin with.
And I think a lot of consumers look for that information as well. To Libby's point, you know, if they do look at a Yelp page and they see a handful of positive reviews and then they see a negative review, but they see a response from the business owner within a day or two, that really builds some confidence and is a whole contextual picture, right? There's a lot of information as a consumer that matters to me, and it's not necessarily going to be swayed by one negative review, but a public response from a business owner could really make that negative review impactful on me as a consumer.
And if someone, for me as a consumer as well, if I see that they respond to every negative review or every positive review, but they don't respond to the negative review, I'm going to be like, that's not good. Like they shouldn't just be like, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, and then never address a problem. Like I
Yeah.
think that shows something too. I hope that answers.
Libby, we just got a question direct to me from someone on the line about what we talked about this morning. So this is perfect. I can answer your question for everyone.
Great.
It's not a fun answer, but it's
Yeah,
an
I know.
honest answer, and it can at least help you be successful. So he's asking why some of their positive reviews are not in the recommended section. On Yelp, we have a not recommended section where those reviews are currently living. So on Yelp, this review recommendation software is there to protect consumers and business owners. Libby and I were saying, we don't know how people like this have time or exist, but there are people who write positive reviews for themselves or negative reviews for competitors. So that algorithm is looking at tons of signals. What do we know about the reviewer? Have they written other reviews before? Did they upload a photo? How long was their review? What did the review say? So it's looking at a bunch of things. And it's also not likely to recommend reviews that have been solicited or asked for. And I'll tell you a quick little example of how you could maybe accidentally be doing something like this and then be getting harmed on Yelp. There was a car wash owner in LA I used to work with, and he had an iPad by his cash register. People would fill out reviews while they waited for their car to go through the detailing area. And on the back end of our site, it looked like all these reviews are coming from the same device. So they couldn't tell the difference between customers in his store or him in his office writing himself 20 reviews every day. So when you do things like send mass newsletters and point people just to one site like Yelp, sometimes you'll have that work against you, that algorithm work against you. Other sites allow you to ask for reviews, like Google, for example, and they even give you resources to do it. So you can ask on other sites, but it's important to know that Yelp's algorithm works against that. And then you just don't spend your time trying to solicit or garner those reviews, but just let people know you're there, share those reviews you do have in the midst of your other reviews. And the people who use that platform will then share more experiences on that site. And by having that complete profile, you're at least getting in front of those people who could potentially then be in that ecosystem. Libby, you want to add anything since we talked about it this morning that I didn't share?
No, I think the only thing that is frustrating is I can't make my, clients become active Yelp users.
It's so frustrating.
Right. And since they're not, I have 7 reviews sitting in my non-recommended, and they are all organically driven. They fit
and they're so nice.
Yeah, they're so nice.
We were looking at them this
morning.
morning.
And so I know we're relying on AI, technology. I think that's hard because I do think all of those reviews fit the same mold as the ones that are being shown. And so I don't know if that's something Yelp can figure out eventually. But I also think from a consumer standpoint, it would just be nice to see them all just because somebody put them in there. But I do completely understand the idea of trying to weed out people who are doing it in a fake way. And that was a real and true concern that, Yelp had to figure out how to address. So I'm sure it's a work in progress, but I understand the meaning, the purpose of it in the first place. So as a business owner, I just want my real reviews up there.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
I totally get it. And we are at the top of the hour. I just want to respect our host here, and maybe I'll just stop talking. But you guys, I want to say engaging is the first step. And if you have any questions or you want to talk about something offline, I'm more than happy to chat with you guys, because I know getting into this for the first time, especially if you've been putting it off, is a little bit intimidating. But engaging is the first step, and you'll see a lot of success.
And Emily, I put your email in the chat for everyone. And I want to make sure that everybody else has put their information in as well, so that if somebody wants to contact you, they can.
Thank you, Emily. And I think we really appreciate your time. And if y'all can hang on just a few more minutes, I think Heather has a few announcements.
It'll be 20 seconds. Really quick, I just want to make an announcement that Small Business Saturday is coming up November 28th. The chamber is going to be making some appearances around town around Bellevue as the Grinch. And we will send out more information about that. It'll include a $200 Bellevue gift basket. Also, the food drive is going to be December 5th for the Bellevue Food Bank, and more information for that to come. And you can always see all of these events on our website, the Bellevue Harpeth Chamber website. And again, thank you all for coming, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Great. Thanks.